Welcome back, Devils fans, and we are here with episode 3 of Runnin With The Devils. And today I have a special treat for you folks. I have one of my childhood favorites, Bobby Holik, a little interview we did with Bobby Holik some time ago that I've been saving for a special moment. And I thought the third episode of the podcast, we're going to drop the Bobby interview, so that'll be later on in this episode. But let's just take a look at the week that was New Jersey Devils hockey. And we go to Tuesday the 6th, first game out of the break. Our New Jersey Devils at home hosting the Colorado Avalanche. Get up 3-1, blow the 2-goal lead, and then eventually find a way to win. Devils win on February 6th, first game out of the All-Star break, beating the Avalanche by a score of 5-3. And then 2 days later, we are at home hosting the Calgary Flames. The much-anticipated return of our savior, Jackhughes. But a heroic night it was not. And unfortunately, the Devils drop a painful one by a score of 5-3 to the Calgary Flames. A game in which Vitek Vanacek wishes he could certainly have back. And then finally, Saturday the 10th in Carolina, we lose a playoff-type nail-biter by a score of 1-0 in overtime after Sebastian Aho beautifully bats a puck out of midair to end it in the overtime frame. Devils lose 1-0. In our 3 games after the All-Star break, we come out with 3 points out of a potential 6, which unfortunately, again, is not good enough to get it done. And this team has some soul-searching to do. We are now in the fight of our lives. Jack is back in the lineup. Toffoli's back. And it's time to start get it going. We're running out of runway, as they say here. We have, a nice little stretch of games left, but it's time to start. It's time to start picking it up because every single point is super precious. Let's take a look at the current standings, and we're still right there. As bad as of a stretch as we've been going through, we are right now 6 points out of the second wild card spot. We're actually 6 points out of both wild card spots, but Detroit has played 51 games, so we have a game in hand on them, and we are trailing by 6 points. Obviously, at this juncture of the season, not an ideal scenario to be in whatsoever, and we have to be better all around. The defense has to be better, the offense has to be better, the goaltending certainly has to be better. A pain point on the whole season. Unfortunately, we've had the league worst goaltending all season long. We don't know if Fitz is going to address that or not. There's been some rumors. We'll get to that in a minute. But as it is now, we have not played well enough to be a playoff caliber team, and that's unfortunate, and we still have some time. 32 games left, but time is ticking, and every game matters, and we got to find a way to get it going. If we look at the upcoming schedule, this upcoming week we play the Kraken on the 12th, at home. Then we're on the road against Nashville on the 13th. Then we have Kings at home on the 15th. And then that big Stadium Series game on Saturday the 17th at MetLife against the Flyers. That is going to be a massive one. Then we're off for a couple days and then another one with playoff implications. Washington's right there as well. We play Washington on the 20th. And then we have the Lightning on the 25th. So there's a lot of games against teams we're trying to catch. And if you could win those games, those are, essentially 4-point games when you're trying to come from behind and catch these guys in the standings. That's February. Let's take a look at March. March, we have a lot of Western Conference games. Then if you look towards the end of the month here, we have the Pens on the 19th, the Islanders on the 24th, and the Leafs on the 26th. Again, all people you're chasing. Winning these games is immensely necessary if we're gonna claw from behind and make a run at this thing and land in a playoff spot. And then you look to April, it could boil down to basically the whole month of April being like must-win playoff hockey. April 2nd, we play the Pens, and we have the Rangers, who we're probably not going to catch, unfortunately. The Senators are garbage. But then you look, these last 4 games are all teams we're trying to catch. We have April 9th, Leafs. It's a home and home. Then we're April 11th at the Leafs. April 13th, Flyers. April 15th, Islanders. Those last 4 games, Leafs, Flyers, Islanders, huge. It could boil down to a scenario where we have to go 4-0 in those games to clinch a playoff spot, or, go 3-0-1 in those 4 games, but the way that the schedule is set up, we could be in for some real either heartbreak or an unexpected playoff berth, with all 4 of those games being people we're battling it out for in the playoff standings. So it should definitely be interesting coming down the stretch. Hopefully the Devils could, go on a little winning streak somewhere in the next couple weeks and, climb up a little bit in the standings so we're not so far back, to set us up for a potential, pre-playoff, if you will, where X amount of wins will get us in guaranteed. It's going to be tight the whole way. No one's doing us any favors. We have a tough schedule down the stretch. A lot of teams are in a similar position to us, either trying to hold on to their spot or trying to catch other teams to take their spot. And so there's no easy wins in this NHL. It's a very unforgiving game, and no one's handing out charity victories to our New Jersey Devils. So they're going to have to really step it up, and hopefully we could put ourselves in a position where that last week of games could be a make-or-break scenario for us to make it into the playoffs. 32 games left. We're approaching do-or-die status for the boys. Saturday night on Hockey Night in Canada, the NHL's #1 insider, Elliotte Friedman, briefly spoke about the Devils and Flames, talking about a Jacob Markstrom trade. And apparently the teams did have very serious talks. And at this juncture, Elliotte Friedman reported that either the trade package or the possible retention of salary, there was deep talks regarding getting Markstrom to New Jersey, and the deal has seemed to hit a wall regarding either the trade package going to Calgary or possible salary retention by Calgary. Either way, he did say there was indeed very real talks. They seem to have hit a snag, and he doesn't think that it's likely to happen based on what he has heard. And so, it's at least assuring to know that Tom Fitzgerald realizes that the goaltending has been a glaring issue. Everyone on the planet knows the Devils are in desperate need of a goaltender, and he's doing his due diligence, calling GMs and inquiring what it's going to take to get one of these guys on the Devils. And it's unfortunate that, while he's being proactive, these other GMs know they are in the driver's seat, that the Devils are just bleeding because of our horrific goaltending on the season. And there's other teams looking to obtain a goaltender as well. So Craig Conroy in Calgary, sort of in the driver's seat, probably commanding a insane package, as we've all suspected for the last couple months. Doesn't seem likely at this point, so maybe Tom Fitzgerald goes to a plan B, C, or D. I would like to see something done. I do think failing to upgrade the goaltending, sends the wrong message to both the team and the fan base, as I do not see us making a true run to get to the playoffs with the goaltending as we have right now. And I think even a small upgrade could be the difference between making the postseason or not, and I would hate to see him just kind of give up on the season. I fully understand if, the deal for Markstrom, they're asking for a crazy return and it doesn't make sense and we're robbing ourselves of our future. I agree with not making a bad move and overpaying for a goalie, but there's got to be an upgrade out there that's not going to cost significant assets that will set us up for a better position to go on a run. And so, if it's not going to be Markstrom or a guy like Gibson or one of these bigger names, then start looking at the more, mid-tier guys like a Kakinen or something like that. That will be an upgrade. It might not be a long-term answer, but at least do something to try to help us this year. I can't stress enough that after the season we had last year and going to the playoffs and beating the Rangers in a vicious, emotionally charged 7-game series before falling to the Canes, to have that season we had and then miss the playoffs this year is just completely inexcusable, and it'd be the biggest failure in the organization's history since we missed the playoffs in the 95-96 season after winning the Stanley Cup in 95. This would be the worst event, or whatever you want to call it, the worst season since then, in my opinion. To have that record year, like I said, the big Ranger playoff win, and have these kids get a taste of postseason, to not make the playoffs is just inexcusable. And I think we have to do anything we can that's not going to cost a ton of prospects and picks to bolster the roster and try to go on a run. There's still 32 games left. It's plenty of time. We're not in a great position right now, but as days get burned off the calendar, it's going to put us in a tougher spot. I'm hoping Fitz does something soon, but it doesn't seem like Markstrom is going to be it for the moment. Friedman said you never know, that the talks could pick back up, but at the moment it seems like they're deadlocked, hit a snag, and doesn't seem likely. It's unfortunate. I like Markstrom, but again, I've told everyone on the channel for weeks I don't want to overpay and get fleeced in a deal. And so when the right one comes up, I do think Fitzgerald will pull the trigger, but I think he needs to do it sooner than later, and hopefully he can make a move or two before the Stadium Series game. I'm not too optimistic that is going to happen, but I would like to see that. And hopefully, something goes our way for a trade that makes sense for both teams that could help our roster without totally overpaying. On the last episode, I talked about how the NHL announced they were going to be participating in what they're calling a 4Nations face-off in the 2025 season, featuring Team USA, Team Canada, Sweden, and Finland in a best-on-best international tournament, a mini World Cup, if you will. And I'm super pumped for that. I've been talking about international play forever. I absolutely love it. And if we take a look here in some news, congratulations to former New Jersey Devil Billy Guerin has been named the United States General Manager for the 2025 NHL 4Nations Face-Off, as well as the 2026 Olympics. I absolutely love Billy Guerin as a New Jersey Devil, one of my favorite players when I was a kid. He's an absolute throwback, a nasty power forward, could mix it up, get in the dirty areas, check people, fight if he has to. Absolutely love Billy Guerin. Wish they made players like him, and I think we desperately miss a couple forwards like him on our roster. If Bill Guerin was reincarnated from his devil days and put on this current roster, he would be our most ferocious forward by far. Billy Guerin, love the guy. Glad to see that he's thriving in the executive world of the NHL. A disciple of the Lou Lamoriello tree, if you will. Billy Guerin doing his thing and named the top guy for Team USA. So congratulations to Billy. He's going to have his work cut out for him, as Team USA has tons of amazing young talent to choose from. I'm sure he will craft an absolutely lethal team for both of these tournaments. And if we take a look, I'm just going to take a look at the NHL.com's projected lineups for these teams to the 4Nations face-off, and I'm going to start with Team USA. And if you just look at this list, wow, you just look at this list and you say, what a team. Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, Matthew Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk, Jason Robertson, Jack Eichel, JT Miller, Kyle Connor, Clayton Keller, Dylan Larkin, Tage Thompson, Brock Boeser, Alex DeBrincat. And then you look at the defense, Quinn Hughes, Charlie McAvoy, Jacob Slavin, Adam Fox, Zach Werenski, Brock Faber, Jacob Trouba. And in the nets, we have Connor Hellebuck, Thatcher Demko, Jeremy Swayman. Wow. What a projected lineup. Obviously, this is not official. We are so far away from the actual tournament, but I do imagine that the actual roster will resemble very close to what we're seeing here. I had seen some other websites. Bleacher Report did one, and they actually had Luke Hughes as part of their defensive core. It would be great to see, Luke play his way onto this team as well, and we'll see all three Hughes brothers potentially on a Team USA. Jack and Quinn Hughes are deadbolt locks to make Team USA, as they're both amongst the best at their positions in the world, never mind Americans. But if Luke Hughes could play his way onto this roster, that'd be something really special for three brothers to represent their country on the international stage. I don't know if that's ever been done before. I'd be curious to look into that, but it probably hasn't. But yeah, good luck to all the American kids trying to crack that roster. Billy Guerin definitely has his work cut out for him, and I'm super excited for this tournament to start. And then if we look at Team Canada, you just look at their roster. Wow, it's just Connor McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby. I'm not going to go through all these guys, but you just look at the roster here, and you think, Team USA and Team Canada are both just going to be loaded for a run in this tournament. The talent we are going to see on the ice in this tournament is going to be absolutely phenomenal. As of right now, no Devils projected to be on Team Canada. I imagine that once healthy, if he comes back and plays like he did in the 22-23 season, that Dougie Hamilton could certainly play himself into consideration for Team Canada for the tournament. Dougie, had a great year last year, and if he could come back from injury and play anywhere near that level, I'd imagine he will at least get consideration from Team Canada to make the roster. And then we go to Team Sweden, and New Jersey Devil, coming off of his first All-Star appearance, Jesperbratt is on the projected lineup for Team Sweden. And you look here, again, a very good team. I don't know that it's, on paper up to par with Team Canada and Team USA, but this Team Sweden will definitely be dangerous, and they'll certainly be capable of, upsetting any team in this tournament for sure. But here, New Jersey Devil Jesperbratt projected to make the team for Team Sweden, and yeah, they got some good players here. Really good team for Team Sweden. And then we go to the Team Finland projected roster. New Jersey Devil Eric Halla projected to make the roster. Again, look at the team here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but pretty good team. Again, capable of beating anybody in the tournament. Not as lethal as USA and Canada, who will definitely be the two favorites in the tournament. But it wouldn't surprise me if any one of these teams won. When you have a goalie like Saros, capable of stealing games, and you have great players at every position, anything could happen. But I'd imagine that the Vegas betting odds will have USA and Canada, ahead above the rest as the two favorites. And I'd be curious to see exactly if they would give the edge to USA or Canada. That'd be interesting. But I'd imagine they'd be very similar odds. Both completely stacked teams, but Team Finland is nothing to sneeze at either. A lot of great players on their roster. And I'm certainly looking forward to the tournament. It's been rumored that the games will be held in Montreal and Boston. I'm selfishly hoping that the finals in Boston, I would, depending on how the schedule all pans out, I'd like to attend multiple games. You don't get the chance to see this very often, and especially when there's a prominent New Jersey Devil like Jack Hughes and hopefully Luke Hughes on Team USA, to see Devil players representing their country, and especially when it's your country. I'm an American. To see them play for Team USA is something special in the prime of their careers in this tournament. So I'll absolutely be attending some games in Montreal and Boston, but I'm just hoping that the final is in Boston because it's a little bit easier of a trip and everything for me than Montreal. But looking forward to that on next season. It's going to be a great tournament. And let me know what you guys think. Who do you think is going to win the tournament? Is there any Devil guys that are on these projected rosters that you think could crack the lineup? Let me know in the comments. Love to see what you all have to say. And 4Nations face-off. It's going to be a good one. And we finally made it. The main event of episode 3. A mini interview I did with Bobby Holik. It was spur of the moment. I did not have a lot of preparation time or the proper equipment to really do the interview with Bobby justice. But it's a whole long story. It kind of happened out of nowhere. I had very little time. Did the best I could with what I had going on. And hope you enjoy it. Bobby's a great interview. Always love talking to Bobby. Hope to have him back on the program in the future for a more in-depth interview. But without further ado, Bobby Holik. I am with a man that needs no introduction, but we will introduce him anyway. With over 1,300 NHL games played, a 2-time Stanley Cup champion in '95 and 2000 with the Devils, a 2-time NHL All-Star, a 9-time 20-goal scorer, 1/3 of the legendary Crash Line, and an absolute monster on the ice that embodies everything you'd want to see in an NHL player, Mr. Bobby Holik. Bobby, first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for taking a couple moments to do this. The first thing I'd like to ask you, Bobby, is throughout your career, you were matched up against some absolute legends and all-time greats of the game. What are some of the guys that you, not necessarily keep you up at night, but you were like, oh damn, I have to go up against this guy, this is not going to be fun? What are like a couple names that come to mind, and why were they like the harder guys to match up against for you?
First of all, thank you for the wonderful introduction. And the second, I get to ask this question almost every time I have some kind of an interview. But to me, it was always. It doesn't keep me up at night. It never kept me up at night. It's a thing that I embraced. Bigger the challenge, better the times. I was raised. My dad did a great job preparing me for anything that comes my way, whether it's on the ice or in life, to deal with it. You don't always deal with it successfully, but you embrace the challenge. So whether it was Mario Lemieux or Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, or Matt Sundin, Joe Sakic, you can go on, Steve Yzerman, Sergei Ferov. As I said, not always successful, but always embraced the challenge and tried my best, or gave my best. So to me, the question would be more, what was the hardest thing in hockey? And the hardest thing in hockey was when we were dominant as a team and sometimes the opponents weren't as good. It's very hard to motivate yourself, when you play almost 100 games a year, to motivate yourself on the games that are not necessarily the best or most challenging. So it's almost the opposite. When you're playing against the best, it's the best. It's the most fun. When against playing against teams who you should beat, say on paper, it's almost harder to be inspired or motivate yourself. Not because you don't care. It's just you're playing a lot of games, and some of the games don't mean as well as, say, playoff series against the New York Rangers.
I'm going to go into the 95 magical season. Obviously, the Devils won the Cup. At what point did you realize that was there like a specific moment in game or something else where you realized the crash line was almost like rock star status, larger than life, cult thing that will be forever talked about as long as the Devil fans that were alive are still alive to talk about it? Was there a moment where you knew like this is kind of crazy?
Well, it wasn't a moment, but we kind of were aware of, not necessarily of our fame, quote unquote fame, but our importance to the team. And Jacques Lemaire or the coaching staff were always good at reminding us, even though we were so-called fourth line, even though we were the best fourth line in hockey.
History.
We felt the importance, the responsibility to the team. We were there to set the tone a lot of times physically. A lot of times we were there to play against the other team's top lines, like we did against the Flyers in the conference finals, against the infamous or overrated Legion of Doom. So those times we felt like we have a huge responsibility because the team almost leaned on us to more than anything to set the stage, physically, or just make sure that everybody's ready, kind of keep it real, sort of, because we were it was just three hardworking guys, pretty tough, pretty physical, pretty intense, but all we wanted to do is to get an opportunity to work and outwork the other team or whoever we played against, or be the hard-working line or hard-working players on our own team. So the goals or the motivating factors were they were no big deal. It was just pride in what we're doing and pride in trying to help the team be as successful as we could be.
Amazing times it was to be a fan and watch that whole magical run in 95 with the crash line being such an integral part of it. You mentioned Philly, so I'm going to skip to the 2000 Eastern Conference Finals. I've talked to Dano about this and I've heard accounts of it from other guys over the years. What is your short recollection of when we went down 3-1 after Game 4? Larry supposedly went crazy and all these things that were reported and people have talked about since. What was your recollection of how he embraced the team, which was a loaded team on paper and on the ice, being down 3-1 in that series?
Well, the difference is we were talking about the 95 run and 2000, that the 2000 team was far more talented. And on paper we should have a lot easier time getting to the finals, or not necessarily winning the cup, but just getting farther, easier. But obviously we, not Flyers, we put ourselves in the hole 3-1 in the conference finals. And Larry and Slava Fetisov and Jacques Caron, they saw what they had in a team, and they were not necessarily disappointed that we are down. They were disappointed that we shouldn't be where we are because we were better than that. They had the confidence in us. And then ultimately Larry's speech after the game, 4, I guess, we realized that we have it, and there's nothing and I've been coaching and mentoring since I retired, and there's something to be said about coach having confidence in his players to do what he's asking them to do. I'm not about telling players what to do. I'm asking them to do the right thing as of today. And Larry didn't tell us what to do. He asked us, and he let us know that we are better than that. And it was disappointing, or we were letting them down, the coaching staff, because they felt like we could do better than that. And we realized that we were better than that, and the rest is history.
So then, you guys went on to win games 5 and 6 and force a game 7 in Philly. Everyone is kind of in shock that we made it now. Winner takes all. Winner goes to the Cup Finals. Early on in the game, Scotty catches Lindros coming across the middle. Obviously, you don't want to see anyone get hurt, but to neutralize their biggest weapon early on in a game 7 in front of their crowd. I remember as a 14-year-old kid watching it, and when it happened, me and my buddy jumped 8 feet off the sofa, and we were like, there's absolutely no way we're going to lose this game now. From a player's perspective and being on the bench, what was the tone like after that happened? Was that just another play in the game, or was that kind of a momentum swing? Did you feel like there's no way we're going to lose this now? Because that arena went silent, deafening.
Well, obviously it was a wow moment. We are 23 years later, we still talk about it, the hit. And I think we're 23 years from now, if we're standing here again, we'll talk about it again. But it was definitely a wow moment. I had a front row view from the bench because I was not on the ice at the time, and it was pretty incredible. When it happens, you don't think about, their best player is out. you have to focus on again, we got ourselves in that situation because of our performance. You know, when we did what were capable of doing, nobody could stop us, even the Flyers. So we had to continue to focus on. It is very hard to get their best player out of the game, to stay focused on you, on your game, and your teammate. How do you help the guy next to you? That's focus, that's being consistent. And it would be easy to think, oh, Flyers lost their best player, now it's easy. But the moment you start thinking that's the moment when you start falling back.
Wow, Bobby, you're like a professor with your words and breaking down the game. I think maybe one of the networks should maybe reach out to you maybe for some desk work if you're interested in anything not on the ice. I think you have a career here. Absolutely.
All I have to add that the media today, or in the last little while, are not about honesty or depth. They are about whatever just gets them through. It's about content. Honesty, depth, explanation, all that is not necessarily that's what they're looking for. So I've dabbled in media, and I was kind of forced out because of, very likely, nobody said that, but very, very likely because of too much honesty.
Really? So you're like critical of players or situations, and they just...
It's not being critical. If you're an analyst and you analyze, if they ask you a question, you analyze the way you see the game. But most people always say you're controversial. I said, I'm not controversial. You just don't like what you're hearing, so you create a controversy. I just say what my opinion is. If you don't agree with me, I would like you to debate me and present facts or arguments that dispute what I say. But nobody wants to do that anymore. People just want to say what they have to say and move on. That's why I, personally, not a big media follower, because you don't really learn much from them. I believe in general, there's a lack of objectivity and honesty.
And I think any good journalist or analyst, you want to hear the truth, right? You want to hear what they really think, and not what the corporate suits want them to say on television. So I think, most fans would definitely appreciate, blunt honesty with no agenda behind it. But I could definitely see your point as to where that's probably lacking today in a lot of areas, as well as hockey.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I always say, people just want to. You just want to say what you want to say, and you don't want to do. I would love to have a debate, a healthy debate, but you cannot have it in today's environment, as you said, whether it's sports or life in general, because people are so entrenched in their opinions, and a lot of them are based on feelings, and it comes. And we can just talk about hockey media or sports media, because they are fans first and foremost. You have to force yourself to be objective and honest, and if you as a player are not doing your job, you have to admit it yourself, and you have to admit it to the media. And if you as a reporter seeing that something's not the way it should be, you have to report it. But again, that's a story for another day, and I don't want to get it in more deeper into it, but it's I'm sure people, just what I just said is going to cause controversy, because people don't hear it often. And when you don't hear it often, you think it's controversial. No, it's just my opinion, and it's not emotional opinion. I'm very analytical. I always have been. So that's what I think.
So Mr. Bobby Holik's taking on all challenger. If you want to debate him, he will debate you with the facts and the facts alone. Last question for you. Who would you say, over the guys you played with, who would be like a guy throughout the years that you thought was kind of like an unsung hero, or maybe didn't get as much notoriety as he should have, whether it's because he didn't have flashy stats or maybe highlight real plays, but someone that the players really appreciated, the little things that the fans might miss on or off the ice?
Without any hesitation, Sergei Brylin, number 18, all-time Devil. Without Sergei, New Jersey Devils of the 90s and early 2000s wouldn't be what they were.
Bobby, thank you so much. I asked for 3 minutes, and you like to talk, as do I. We've been here for a while. Thank you very much. And Devils fans, there he is, Mr. Bobby Holik. Hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Bobby Holik. Thanks again to Bobby for taking the time to talk to me. Hope to have him on again in the future, as well as a bunch of other guys that I kind of have in the works. Love talking about the glory days with the former players. Being the age that I am and growing up during the Dynasty Devils, there's nothing I enjoy more than talking to some of these old guys about their war stories and things from that era of New Jersey Devils hockey. And look for some more exciting stuff with the guys in the future. And finally, on February 17th, the boys will be headed to MetLife Stadium to take on the Philadelphia Flyers in the much-anticipated Stadium Series game. I'm here with my main man, my little nephew, decked out in his new Nico Hischier Stadium Series jersey. You pumped for the game, bud?
Yeah.
You think you're going to freeze your little balls off?
Yeah.
It's going to be a cold one. Dress in layers. I'm going to have to get this guy in, I don't know, some kind of thermals, maybe a ski mask, maybe some hand warmers. We'll have to figure out how to keep the little guy warm. But it should be a good one over at MetLife. What else? What do you think about the game?
It's easier for him to say because he has body hair.
Wow. Wow, this guy's throwing zingers, folks. That was not planned or rehearsed. This guy just throwing barbs at his uncle on the podcast. And shout out to all the parents. I do not have any children. I just have this guy, my nephew, and his little brother, my other nephew, and they are quite expensive. Kids are very expensive. This jersey was a nice little $120 at the local Dick's, and yeah, I would go. This guy makes me go broke. I don't know how people have children. I'm just buying him cool stuff that he likes, but wow, kids are expensive in 2024. Shout out to all the parents out there taking care of kids full time. This guy's a handful, but he's my man, and we will be at MetLife for the Stadium Series. Would that be your celebration on the ice?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right, folks. We will see you next week for episode 4, which will be a Stadium Series recap. Hopefully we capture some cool videos and happenings and events surrounding the big game. And hopefully our boys could get a big 2 points against the Flyers. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
And let's hope this Devils team could get their shit together, go on a little run, and at least have meaningful games in that April month where hopefully we could squeak our way into the playoffs. And once that happens, you never know what could happen. Like I said in a previous video, nobody pegged the Florida Panthers at pretty much any point last season to go on the miracle run that they did to the finals, and you saw the run that they had. And so anything could happen. We just got to get into the dance and see what we could do. You never know. You never know in this league what could happen in the playoffs. So hopefully they get it together and can go on this run. I will talk to you all soon. Let me know what you thought in the comments about Bobby Holik interview, anything else with the 4Nations, anything else Devils hockey, trade rumors, yada, yada. Tons of stuff going on this time of year as we're approaching crunch time. I will see some of you at the Stadium Series. Our next episode will be heavily around the Stadium Series recap, sights and sounds, and I'll be at the arena, or the stadium rather, getting all sorts of videos and content for you guys who can't be there. Maybe some more behind-the-scenes stuff, all that stuff. Looking forward to it, not looking forward to freezing, but Stadium Series, very special event. Won't happen too often. It's been 10 years since the last one, and, you know, it's a special event. You got to go out there, freeze, and see the boys, and hopefully root them on to what would be a monumental victory over this Philadelphia Flyers team. That's all I got for you guys. Throw anything out there in the comments. Love talking to you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.